Yvette and Adam. Okay, we are back for the second part of Classroom Discussions in Math, and we left off here with the fifth reason about why talk is critical to teaching and learning. What we're going to look at next is the stapled packet, which is just part of Chapter 1 from the resource Classroom Discussions in Math. And it outlines 4 steps towards productive talk, and we're going to take a look at each of those steps. And each of those steps are in succession, so you have to have one before you have the next. So in order to get to the final step, the 4th step, you would have to have the previous 3 steps in place. All right, so we are going to get started with step number 1, which is about helping individual students clarify and share their own thoughts. And you're going to want to pause this video to do the reading when I indicate time for you to read certain sections, and then come back as we kind of debrief, and then watch a short video clip from the resource itself. It comes with a DVD of several video clips from classrooms about each of these steps to productive talk in the classroom happening. All right, so we're going to start with the first one, helping individual students clarify and share their own thoughts. And in your reading, your stapled packet, it begins on page 12, and this is the longest reading. Okay, the step 1 has the longest section of reading, and on page 12 you're going to find the heading that says Talk Moves that help individual students clarify and share their own thoughts. I want you to read the entire section, and it's kind of like a dialogue of actually what's happening in a classroom. And it's kind of cool to see how the students respond to a question and the different things the teacher does to get students to actually share their own thoughts. There's some strategies and things she uses. So I want you to pay close attention to that as you're reading. Take down any notes, highlight, write questions in the margins if you have questions that maybe I can clear up for you when I see you next time. All right, so here's a time to pause the video and go ahead and read this first section. Okay, so after reading this section on getting kids to clarify and share their own thoughts, there's some strategies you can use that will help this to happen in a classroom, and I'm going to highlight just a few of them that you probably read about in this section. First one is wait time, and in class I kind of surveyed the class to see if they'd heard of wait time, and everyone had, and so then I asked them, so what is a proper amount of wait time? And the whole class thought around 5 seconds. And there is different research that'll tell a different number of seconds that is appropriate for wait time after you pose a question to a class. A lot of research says 5 to 8 seconds. But there's some reading, and actually this resource, that talks about waiting as long as 60 seconds for kids to think and process a problem or a question on their own before asking for a response. And in class we talked about, think about the question you are posing, and that question should determine the amount of wait time you give students to think about it. You want to give sufficient time for the majority, if not all of your class, to be able to process and have something to share in regards to your question. So wait time is a useful strategy for getting more kids to respond in a classroom. Turn and talk. And you saw this teacher, Mrs. D. She used the turn and talk method. She posed a question. She only had one hand go up. Rather than calling on that one student who probably had a great answer, she stopped and she asked the kids to just turn and talk to their partner. And you read in there how the classroom erupted into talk about the question she was asking. So a turn and talk is really helpful. It gives kids just that safe place to share and just having to share with one other person instead of the whole class. Stop and jot. That's just letting kids jot down their thoughts before they have to talk about them openly. So giving them a second to process and jot down some thoughts in regards to the question you are asking. And asking kids when they're turning and talking to a partner, or when they're jotting down their thoughts and you're monitoring and you see something that you would like shared with the class, asking that kid for permission. Would you mind sharing that with the class today? I would love for you to share that idea. I think that could bring about a great discussion in our classroom. So getting their permission before you just put them on the spot. Asking kids to say more. So Mrs. D did this in this example with Paulo. He answered, and then she had to get a little more out of him, so she used that move, say more. So can you tell me a little bit more about that? Or even revoicing what the kid is saying. Oftentimes, we may not be sure we're following correctly, so it's important just to paraphrase what the kid is sharing to make sure you're on the right track, and allow the kid to nod and say, yeah, that's what I was saying. Or maybe they say, no, I wasn't saying that. I don't think you were understanding me, and so they need to try sharing it in a different way. All right, the video we're going to watch, this is a quick classroom clip from, I think, a second or third grade classroom, and they're playing the game 4 Strikes and You're Out, and we played it in class the other night. And the kids get a chance to call out numbers, and if the number is in the number sentence that the teacher is using, he'll place the number. And right now the kids are talking about options that will not work for the blanks that are still remaining. And so you're going to see this teacher emphasize asking a kid to clarify their own thoughts on something before moving on. And so watch how this teacher does this.
Why wouldn't the 4 and the 1? You said about 5 and a 5. Can you tell me a little bit more? 5 and 5 equals 10, so it would go over 50 if you added a 1 and a 4. So 1 10, 4 10s equals 5 10s, and I already have 10. Yeah.
That kiddo was really anxious to get to what would work for those blanks that are remaining, but the teacher wanted to press a little further about, well, tell me more about why 4 and 1 wouldn't work, and got the kid to kind of go back and tell him a little bit more. All right, we are going to move on to step 2, helping students orient to the thinking of others. So once kids can share their own thoughts about answering a question or sharing justification for how they got an answer, you want kids to be able to listen to others, so actively listen to their classmates. And so this is where step 2 comes in to classroom discussions. And it is a shorter section of reading. It starts on page 19 in your reading, and you'll see the heading kind of just a paragraph or so down, talk moves that help students orient to the thinking of others. So I want you to read this section 19 to 21. Again, take notes, put questions in the margins if you have questions, and then start the video back up, and I'll give a little information on this piece, and we'll watch another quick video. Okay, so step 2 is about getting kids to actively listen to one another, and as a teacher, making sure that they're actively listening to each other's ideas by asking classmates to repeat someone's idea that was shared. If you, the teacher, are the only one interacting with a student and the idea that they're sharing, then no one else in the class is benefiting from it. It's just something great going on between you and that individual student, but you are not ensuring that everyone else in the class is engaged and actively listening. So, asking kids to simply repeat what a classmate just shared. So, who can repeat what Adam just shared? Who can repeat Yvette's thinking that she just shared? Who can say that again? Can anyone put it into their own words? So can you restate or paraphrase what Jamie was saying? Who can restate what Adam said? Can anyone repeat what they heard Yvette say? Who can say that again for us? And then after a turn and talk, because turn and talks are really powerful, it gives everyone in the class a chance to talk at the same time. Then having an idea shared with the whole class, but instead of tell me your idea, tell me your partner's idea. It's one of my favorite talk moves, and every once in a while I'll use it with my students. I'll tell them, sometimes I'll give them a choice. You can share your solution or your strategy, or you can share your partner's solution or strategy. Sometimes I will just tell them, today you're going to share your partner's, and they don't even get to share their own, so it forces them to really actively listen and be able to share. They have to listen to their partner. All right, we're going to watch a quick video clip on this one, and the question that's going on in this class is, a kid is trying to explain why she believes 7/8 belongs on the point A on the number line after 3/4, and she's using equivalent fractions to make that point, which is really, really important in this 5th grade classroom. And so the teacher has more than one kid repeat this classmate's thinking about why 7/8 belongs in spot A on this number line. And this is a 6th grade clip. I think I misspoke earlier and said 5th grade. This is 6th grade. How did you know that 7/8 was greater than 3/4?
So how did that help you, and who did you work with, Mary?
Because I knew that 7/8 were more than 3/4.
Okay, how did you know that?
Because if I changed it into like if I rounded it toward like an equivalent fraction, like 6/8 would be equivalent to 3/4.
Okay, can somebody repeat what she just said? Go ahead, Michaela.
Mary, may you please repeat that again? I knew that 6/8 was like equivalent to 3/4. Helped me because I knew that 7/8 were more than 6/8.
Okay, can you try it now, Michaela?
She did it in like an equivalent fraction to 3/4, and then 6/8 would be bigger than the amount that we were supposed to get, so she knew that it would work.
Okay, anyone want to help out? Anyone want to repeat it again? Haley, it's loud if you can.
Mary knew that 6/8 was equivalent to 3/4, and 7/8 is 1/8 bigger than 6/8, so that's what helped her.
And that's what helped her. Anyone else can repeat that for me?
This teacher was a true facilitator of the discussion, and it was the student's responsibility to repeat what a classmate had shared. And I noticed that first student that was trying to repeat, she had the freedom to ask that student to repeat again her reasoning and how she figured that out before she attempted to repeat her. Even when she did repeat her, she did not follow her line of thinking quite right, and so the teacher went to another student to add on to help out. And then this idea of using equivalent fractions to figure out where 7/8 is this correct spot on the number line for A is a big deal in this classroom, and so the teacher made sure that multiple people were repeating this big idea that was really important. Yet the teacher was not repeating it, she was having the students repeat it. Okay, we're going to move on to step 3 of classroom discussions, helping students deepen their own reasoning. So once they can share their own thoughts and then engage and actively listen to a classmate, you want them to go deeper with their own reasoning. And so this is what step 3 is about. This starts on page 21 and it stops on page 23. So this is a short section. Read and take notes as you see fit, ask questions, write those down in the margins, and go ahead and pause and do that now, and then we'll come back. Okay, so sometimes you need kiddos to go a little deeper with their own thinking, and so you've got to prompt them to do that. And there's some strategies you can use to get them to go a little deeper with their reasoning. One is, why do you think that? Asking them for their evidence, asking them how they got an answer. What convinced them they were right? Why did they think that strategy would work? Where is there support for your claim? Can you prove it to us? What makes you think that? I'm not sure I understand. Can you explain it step by step? Instead of watching the video for the next one, we're going to go right into step 4, which is helping students engage with the reasoning of others. This is the final step, and this is where you get the most robust discussion in your math classroom. It starts on page 24 and ends on page 28. If you would read, take notes on this last step, please. Okay, one of the easiest ways to get kids to engage with the reasoning of others is to ask them, what do you think about that? And even better, do you agree or disagree with so-and-so, and why? Okay, we're going to watch a very short clip showing kids truly engaged with the reasoning of others.